Hello, and welcome to the video demonstration series from Acadian Labs. My name is Mike Magill, and I'm a technical product manager at Acadian Labs. Today, we will demonstrate provisioning of Cisco Unified Contact Center Enterprise agents, also known as UCCE, with Acadian Provisioning Manager. This is a newly introduced feature to the product. Until recently, Acadian Provisioning Manager could only integrate with Cisco's packaged UCCE, also known as PCCE. So, to be clear, we are now talking about traditional UCCE as opposed to PCCE. So what are you going to see in this demo? We're going to start with an onboard of a pre-skilled UCCE agent using our search services feature. Then we're going to move on to onboarding and skilling a UCCE agent with our advanced provisioning. And then finally, we will offboard one of those agents also using the advanced provisioning functionality. So let's get started. So as I said, we're going to start with an onboarding of a pre-skilled UCCE agent with search services. Now, what do I mean by pre-skilled UCCE agent? So there are a couple different ways of doing this. In Provisioning Manager, we have templates, and those of you who are familiar with our Provisioning Manager templates, you'll probably find what I'm about to show you quite familiar. We have templates where we have the option of templatizing the skills and teams and peripherals for each agent as we want ahead of time, which allows the simplification of the provisioning process, or we can actually allow for skilling and teams and peripheral choices to be done at the provisioning time. So let's take a look at the templates I'm going to be using. So right now, let's talk about the pre-skilled agents. This is my agent. I'm going to show this one. This agent is we call it a support skilled agent, meaning he's going to be part of the support team, and you'll have the support skill. So those of you who are familiar with Provisioning Manager, you know how we deal with global variables and how we make our templates generic, and our global variables are denoted by double braces. So you'll see here I have the agent name is the user ID. That's a global variable. The last name and the first name are also, in fact, I have my first name and last name mixed up here, but that's fine. It will look a little strange, but at some point we'll fix that. But actually what I want to show you is this piece down below here. Now notice I have this checkbox called Set at Provision Attributes. So I have it unchecked, which means everything below it is going to be displayed for our template. So I'm not going to make this user a supervisor, so that checkbox is unchecked. And the supervisor teams is, well, that's not relevant anymore because I haven't checked the supervisor. But now I have desk settings. So those of you who are familiar with UCCE or even PCCE for that, these next fields are going to be quite familiar. So there's the desk setting. So I have a desk setting called Default Agent Desk. Not really important what's in there. Skill groups. So I've chosen one skill group. I created a skill group, and that's been done on an admin workstation. This skill group is called Support. And I've also set that as the default skill group. Now I can choose whatever I want. I have other skill groups. You'll see that I have a bunch of them, 4 of them in total. I can choose multiple skill groups. In this case, I just gave them one. And the team as well. I have a bunch of teams defined. I've given this particular agent template to the support team. Now I can create templates for each of these different types of agents. In this case, I just created one for the support. And then of course I gave them the peripheral. This is the peripheral gateway for CUCM. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit more, and we also have agent attributes. Now I can add attributes. I didn't do for this one, but notice we have some attributes already defined, like for English, Spanish, widgets, programming, Microsoft Excel, management. These are attributes that normally you would add in the CCE admin page for UCCE. So let's say if I chose widgets, this one happens to be a Boolean type, which is true. Or if I chose Spanish, I think this is also, well, this is a proficiency type. So we have proficiency levels, which I believe go from 0 to 10. So we can make a lot of these choices ahead of time and then associate them with our search services, which will simplify the process. Let's go back to my other template and we'll just take a look at it, and then we'll do the new different types of provisioning. So this is skilled at provision. So this is what I meant. So remember I talked about that checkbox that's set at provision. I've checked it and there's nothing below it. So that means that when I do the provisioning job, I'll be asked all those fields and I'll need to be able to answer them at the time I'm doing the provisioning. So this makes a template a lot more generic, but it also makes the provisioning a bit more complex for those who are maybe more familiar with the skill sets and all the UCCE type provisioning that you need to do. But you have the option of pre-skilling, pre-joining team, adding the peripheral, all those other fields for perhaps some of your more operational type people who are less skilled with UCCE. So let's move on. So as I said, my first example is going to be using search services. Now, I showed you the two templates. We're going to use the template that has the pre-skilled. And I'm going to onboard a person named Andre Berry. Now, his user ID in Active Directory as well as Call Manager and Unity Connection is aberry. And I'll do a search for him. And my Active Directory is synchronized with Call Manager and Unity Connection, so that end user record already exists. So we'll click on aberry. And with that, we are going to see all the information we have on him. Now, we notice that we have a telephone number 28799. We're going to do the scenario today where the number has already been assigned. We're going to remember 28799 when it comes time to choosing a DN. And we're going to use on the right here where it says add services. This is our search services feature. It is context sensitive. In this case, we know that this particular user has not been onboarded yet by the fact that current services has no associations found underneath it. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose onboard UCCE team agent. And you'll see it's very simplified. So I have a site template. We'll choose a site template for Los Angeles, DN pool, Los Angeles, directory number. I think it was 28799, right? There he is, 28799, available. We're not going to enable single sign-on. And devices, we're going to give this person a Cisco 8861, and we're going to auto-generate the MAC address. Auto-generated MAC addresses allow you to use the activation codes or an IP phone service that allows you to marry up the actual MAC address with the profile we just set up. So I'm going to perform. And what's going to happen now in the background, as I said, we're going to create an 8861 phone with that DN that we took from the DN pool. We're going to associate the DN with the phone. We're going to associate the DN with a voicemail box. We're also going to create the UCCE agent in the back as well. So here we're done. And we'll wait for this page to reload. And those of you who are familiar with our search services, you'll be familiar with the single pane of glass that we have here. Here's the phone, here's the line, here's the Unity voicemail. But most importantly, this only shows the call manager piece, but most importantly, let's go into our UCCE page, the enterprise management. We'll go under the agent area, and we're going to look for aberry. Here he is. So remember, this was a pre-skilled agent. So we have the agent desk. Remember, we chose the desk settings. We put him in the support team. Attributes, we didn't put an attribute, but we also have him in the skill group for support, and also the default skill group also support. So we have created the agent basically as the template said, very simply and very quickly. So let's go to our next, actually, let's go back to the list. All right, we'll do it this way. Let's go back to the list and let's go back to Provisioning Manager. And let's talk about the next example. So remember I told you we have the pre-skilled UCC agent, which we just did. Now we have the agent that is not, we have not set any skills in our template, but we are going to skill it at provisioning. So in this we call advanced provisioning. We're not going to use the search services. We're actually going to go to the provision section. We can go from that launchpad. We can go from our navigation window on the left to go from provisioning to provision, and we have our jobs on the right. Now I'm going to use this job, the Cisco Onboard UCCE agent skilled at provision. Basically, as it says, I'm going to put the skills and all that information about the agent at the provisioning time. So site template. Let's talk about the site template. I'm going to, let's give him to New York this time. And my user ID will be Angela Owens, A. Owens. And I can find her. Here she is, first name and last name. and we'll choose a directory number. In this case, I'll just give one of these New York directory numbers, and we'll generate a MAC address. Remember, we're also creating that 8861. In this case, it's already chosen for us. We just need to give it a MAC address. And here we go. Here are those UCCE agent skills and all those fields that we looked at before that had no settings. So once again, I'm not going to make this person a supervisor. I'm going to give them a desk setting. I'll give them default like I did the other one. And skill groups, remember we have a bunch of choices. So I think this person is going to be software sales. So let's give them software sales and we'll put them in the default. The agent team will make it sales. And the peripheral, we only have one PG. That's our CUCM PG. Oh, and let's give her a Spanish proficiency of 5. So we have an attribute for Spanish. In fact, we can give another attribute. Maybe make it widgets. Give it widgets true. All right. So we've set up all the skills, the teams, and everything that we needed to do. Obviously, this is a little bit more advanced than using search services, but it gives you a little bit more flexibility at the same time. So we'll scroll up to the top, we'll click perform, and we'll watch it provision. Well, actually, we're going to watch Provisioning Manager say it's provisioning in the background, but we'll see in a second. We'll come back as, well, hopefully it'll come back as successful. And we'll go into Call Manager later on. In fact, once this is done, we'll go into Call Manager. We'll see the device for this particular agent and also for the other one that we just created because we didn't look at Call Manager before. And then we'll go into UCCE. Okay, so success. I'll look at the details. Details matter, but in this case, it just shows that everything went in correctly. Now notice we have a rollback button. So for instance, we determined that there was an issue. We can do this rollback and it will roll back everything that was provisioned successfully. So it obviously won't roll back the unsuccessful stuff, but it will roll back the successful stuff. And that includes the UCCE piece. So let's go back to, let's take a look at Call Manager and we'll look at the device. And let's actually just do device names. I think we should only have a bunch in here anyway. So here's Andre Barry's. Remember, we created one for Andre. And we also here's Angela Owens. And Angela Owens, we gave her the extension 11133. It's a Cisco 8861. And so we're pretty good. We're pretty satisfied, at least, that we've got it in Call Manager. Now let's go to our UCCE agent. And I have a feeling I need to refresh this. So let's see if I can do this refresh. And yeah, it's going to reload. And hopefully we will see Angela Owens. Here she is. And there we go. Description, Angela Owens, desk settings, just as we had provisioned it in APM, Provisioning Manager, and the team sales. Look at the attributes. Here's Spanish and widgets and skill groups. The Cisco Voice software _S for sales. I guess it just kind of got truncated because it was too long. So we have successfully onboarded a couple of agents. So let's proceed with offboarding our user using the advanced provisioning method. I'm going to go to provision, just like we did on the last provision. And let's offboard this UCC agent. So we'll offboard the same one that we did before. Let's just do Angela. So we'll find CCM user, A. Owens. And she should come up pretty quickly. Here she is. So now it's just going to pull all the information we have on her. So it's going to pull her line, her phone, her voicemail, the UCCE agent that we created. It's going to put it all in one place. And then once it's finished pulling all this information, we'll have the ability to offboard everything. So here we go. We have a line, we have a phone, we have a voicemail, we have a UCCE agent, and I'll perform. So basically what's going to go is it's just going to go into Call Manager and Unity Connection and UCCE and remove this user from each of those tables. And success. So if we go into our phone configuration, in fact, we can see the last phone, she's gone, right? So we only have Andre's. And if I go into UCCE again, her user setup, agents, Angela Owens is no longer a row in here. So we have successfully offboarded her, and we can do this as well using search services. This concludes our demonstration on traditional UCCE provisioning with Acadian Provisioning Manager. I hope you found this video informative. Thank you very much for watching.